preparing.
Got it.
And it's working on it, people. I don't know if we're streaming yet. It's working on it, and it's done. And I have to mute this, and then I have to find my Zoom. Where y'all at? Here you are. Hello, everybody. Oh, just so much to get everything going again. And Chrissy's jumped in while I was away trying to push buttons. And Will, hello, Will. We've missed you. And then iPhone. Fred, how you doing, Fred? It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. You see, when I get this part out of place right here, my whole day's just messed up. You know, when I comb my hair and get. Will, do you have the same problem? If you get
I had my wife to shave it. She'd be going out to comment.
Yeah.
It's worry with my beard.
Okay. So it is so good to see everybody tonight. I started to say a minute ago, but I was waiting through the conversation. Did
you not turn the radio on again?
No, and the Georgia group just texted me and said, "Where you at?" Because now here we are. Hello, everybody on Power Faith Radio. Sorry about that. The intro was just going back and back. The Georgia group texted me and said, "Terry, they got 62 in there tonight." We're gonna
have a lot of donuts.
That's a lot of donuts. Oh yeah, she just texted and said, "We got them bringing their own now."
There you go.
Way to go. All right. It's so good to have everybody with us tonight. If you're joining us through our YouTube channel, that is who hosts this, Outreach Noah. And while you're there, if you're watching it live or you're watching the recording, go ahead and subscribe to that channel. Hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And you can share this YouTube video with all your social media platforms. And you can also email us with your questions. Just send the email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Did I get that right?
I think you did.
And if you go to A Simple Walk Facebook group, there you will find all of our links where you can join in, listen, or come on into the Zoom room and be with us. All right, Terry, you want to greet everybody in the Zoom room?
All right. Looks like we got a pretty good house in here tonight. How's my mic? I can't seem to get my mic right tonight. Does it sound okay?
It sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Might kick it up a little bit.
All righty.
No, kick the mic up.
I just can't get it at the right. Seems like it needs another extension.
You or the mic? What I was going to say. I'm sorry.
No, okay, Benj, you did say that when I worked at Derby and I was doing receiving, and I had put these PID labels. They were barcode labels on all the packages. So we transferred all the information, the quantities and all that stuff, scanned all that and transferred it all to that one label. Well, we'd have some that would be up there.
Yeah.
They'd be up as high as, they come out of the tractor trailer. So they'd be that high. Well, some of the boxes had these white, stiff cardboard corners that I know you've seen, on packaging before. And so I kept me 2 of those and wrote my name on them. And because that way I could just take and stick the tip of my PID on it and reach up there and label the boxes. And I put Terry's arm extension on it. So don't throw away.
All right. You want to greet everybody in the Zoom room?
Well, okay. You started it.
I know it. I did.
Greetings, everyone. Just ignore Scotty and I. We're just having a little bit of fun there. Well, of course, we know Scotty's in the engineer room down there because he's trying to get all the buttons poked tonight and get everything going and up and coming. And so we've also got Ronald with us and Thomas, Amuela. I keep wanting to say Amy when I see that, but it's Amuela. And Veronica, where are you at now?
Oops. I am in a little town called Okotoks, which is just on the other side of Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Okay. So you've traveled around the states, and now you're up in Canada. All righty. And then we've got Bob and Sabra, Wendell and Chrissy come in, and Will's join us tonight, and Fred, and of course Scotty's better half. Miss Annie there. Tries to keep him straight there.
Yeah.
And anyone who wants to come into the Zoom room, like Scotty said, in the A Simple Walk Facebook page, there's a link to the Zoom room. You're welcome to come in and join us anytime you want to. Tonight, we're going to be delving into some of the questions that we got a couple of weeks ago. Scotty's been working on some of those. We've got together a little bit and had a bit of discussion. And so he's laid out a pathway for us, I think, tonight. We're going to get into that.
That pathway is going to be, we're just going to jump in, hold on.
Oh, kind of like the river, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's how I learned how to swim. Literally, Dad threw me in the river, swim. That's what you do. That's what you do in Kentucky. You throw kids in the river and say, "Here, learn how to swim."
Hold on.
So, all righty, Scott, are you about ready?
Yes. Okay, somebody just sent me a. Hold on. Yeah, I am. I got three things going on at one time here. Okay. So it's good to see everybody. We're going to start our Tzedakah time, and I'm trying to figure out when to tell you this story. I've got I call it a miracle to tell you about tonight. So I think I'm going to go through our Tzedakah list, and then after you got your rag there, but this
you better do it last, or you won't get any further.
I won't get any further. Okay, as always, Terry and I want to start our Tzedakah off, and hold on, I got one more thing to do here. Our Tzedakah off tonight for our main teacher, Pesach, and his wife Shira Sherbo. They live in Sfat, Israel, and we're giving tzedakah for them tonight. Also still giving tzedakah for Rabbi Moshe Schulman. He is recovering. He's started his classes back, his meetings back, and but we're still going to go ahead and give him some give tzedakah for him tonight. Also, Nadine Akins, we're continuing to give tzedakah for Nadine Akins tonight, and Wendy Shepherd, we're giving tzedakah for Wendy Shepherd tonight. You haven't heard anything about Wendy lately, have you, Chrissy? No. Okay.
No, I thought she has a friend that is sort of communicating with us, so I'd say everything's about the same.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue to give tzedakah for her. Also for William and Tina Lyons, we're giving tzedakah tonight. And Clifford Hoole is still on our tzedakah list. I talked to him today, and he appreciated all the prayers. Also, Katie Rivers' father. I was not able to get a hold of her to get her father's name, but she's having to take a break from everything to take care of her father. So Katie Rivers' father. Also, Brian Brown. We're going to keep Brian Brown on our tzedakah list. He's a young man that's suddenly developed a heart condition, so they're monitoring him. Also, Connie House Maglish. We have her on our tzedakah list tonight. And also, somebody always sends in $3. I get $3 every week, and this $3, one of them is for Amuela. Now, this is not $1 for Amuela. They send this in proxy. This is $1 from Amuela. Going into the tzedakah list for a blessing, wherever that goes to. And also they send one in for Veronica Port, and also they send one in for Thomas Schaus. So I don't know. Well, I won't say what I was fixing to say. I'll just keep on going. But they send $1 in for each one of those people for them. And then also Kathleen Suits. Have you heard anything else about Kathleen, Terry?
Yeah, Ronnie messaged me the other day. I didn't know, the whole issue with her blood clot in her eye. He had told me that she had actually had a stroke, and I haven't heard back yet, but they were waiting on the MRI on that. But he said he could start seeing a difference in how she moved and talked a little bit. So they were concerned with that. But I haven't talked with him since he messaged me that probably, about last Thursday, I think, last Thursday or Friday.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue to have her on our Tzedakah list. Also, Warwick Marshall. We have Warwick Marshall on our Tzedakah list. And Ronald, should I ask you how you're doing, or should I ask Chrissy how you're doing?
Oh, I don't know how I'm doing. You better ask Chrissy.
Chrissy, we need to have him on our Tzedakah list, don't we? He still needs to be. I can tell Chrissy's going to be humble tonight. And yes, go ahead, Chrissy. What was you going to say? You unmuted.
Yes. Just keep him on there perpetually, because that way it makes all us girls. He helps us out on our WhatsApp group, and we want to keep him in fine fettle for that. So.
Okay, good deal. Well, we're going to continue to give tzedakah for Ronald, and then also we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah for Wendell and Mary Parsons. You see how I've done that now, don't you, Wendell? I've included you in the Thanksgiving because I know that when it comes winter, you don't have to shovel the snow. So it's I just want to get that snow in there, Wendell. So okay, and so in our blessed memory tzedakah tonight, we have Donna Faye Tieftaler. Donna Faye Tieftaler in our blessed memory. And then also we have Allie Grace Gilstrip. Allie Grace Gilstrip in our tzedakah blessed memory tonight. Would you help us pray tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. Our King, do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody, let me move some of this out of the way because I have a story, and I'm going to give a Thanksgiving tzedakah here for this story, but I want to get this moved over here out of the way. So, I cannot give you names in this story. Thomas can attest to that. I can't include names in this. But Thomas knows the story that I'm about to tell because he knows who it is about. It is about a mother who got mixed up in drugs when she was younger, and she had her children. You know what happens. They took them away, and she understands that. She knows why they were taken. And so we've started talking to her. I've known her for some time, and so anyway, I got to watch how I tell this because I can't give any names. But very depressed, and so my family and I kind of just, my wife, we kind of felt the need, and I see her a lot. So anyway, kind of felt impression to try to do the best I could to bring her into a positive state of mind. So we started talking to her and explaining our faith and our belief who God is, and she called right on. She suddenly caught on. We ended up getting her Chumash, and she told me one day when I saw her, she says, "I'm really enjoying this Torah." She calls it the Torah. "I'm really enjoying it because I'm reading all the commentary before I read the text, because I want to know what the text is talking about before I ever get up there and read it." And I think I called Terry and told Terry about that when she told me that. I just thought that was fascinating. And so, one of her prayers just is, she didn't know where her girls was at. she just praying about where her girls was at. And I said, you know what we're going to do? And I said, honey, this is what we're going to do. I call everybody honey. I call Thomas honey from time to time. So, and I said, yeah, I said, let's pray that your oldest daughter come knocking at your door, come and find you. Well, you know, when I said that, I didn't, I'm going to be honest with you. That was far. The girls have been gone now for over 5 years. They were young when they were taken, 5 years. And so we prayed, and she started, I told her about charity boxes, and she started going. Every time she went out, she would put a little change in her charity box. And she would tell me, she said, when I do that, I see my baby's faces in every child I look at. And so we're just going to keep praying. And the other night, she had a knock at the door. And it had been so long since she opened the door, and there stood this lady. And she said, can I help you? And the lady said, Baba, her mother, her daughter came, what we were praying for happened. The daughter came and found her and knocked on the door. When she was calling, she called me and started telling me. I said, what? Wait a minute. I'm going to be honest with you. I was just telling her that to try to settle her mind down. But it happened out of the blue. Her daughter had been searching for her, and her daughter come and knocked on the door and found her. And not only that, but she spent the night with her, and they laid on the couch in each other's arms, and then got up next morning, had breakfast, and she lived 3 hours away. She came 3 hours to find her mama. What a miracle. What a miracle. So we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah tonight, and this is from her. This is from her. She said, put this in. Christopher's coming in, if somebody would let him in. This is from her going into the tzedakah box tonight. A miracle. It's a miracle to her. A miracle. I just, wow. That's all I got to say is wow. So I got to add a little more, Terry. So when she was telling me this, she'd put these little posts on Facebook, not knowing if her daughter's seen it, and she said, "Mom, I see everything you said. I just, and I'm so glad I found you." What a miracle! What a miracle! Okay, Terry.
Now
I've cried every time.
I know you called me at work the other day, and I had to go outside.
What a miracle! I mean, a knock at the door. I got to say this. I hope you don't think I got to say this. When I told her that to pray about that, Bob, I didn't think that was going to happen. Her daughter come knocking at the door and I didn't think that was going to happen. I'm going to be honest. But in fact, I talked to a rabbi about it, and he said, well, with every prayer, sometimes we have a little bit of doubt, but it just makes us pray that much harder and try to see it. And of course, she said, I don't know how it's going to happen. I just feel like it's going to happen. And the knock come at the door, and she opened the door, and it had been so long, she almost didn't recognize her. And then when the lady said, Mama, they both grabbed each other in the hallway. They wouldn't turn each other loose, just grabbed and held, and then, okay, Terry.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm going to wipe my eyes now. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got me now again. Oh, Scotty, how you want to start off?
I I thought we already did. I'm sorry.
No, we did. I mean, matter of fact, we can close. Right, we can close right now.
No, I know. So okay, let's see if I can.
It's awesome. It's just it's awesome.
Wait, I'm getting a message here. She's gonna bring her sister. Oh! My wife just reminded me a part of it I forgot all about. Thank you, honey. She
Go ahead.
kept bringing me notes in here. That was the oldest daughter, and the next time she comes, she's going to bring her sister, the youngest daughter, and she's not going to tell the sister where they're going, and they're going to come up and meet. So so okay. Thank you,
Just,
honey.
That's the Creator. He hears our cry. One of the things that I think it was Rabbi Sachs was saying, I think it was Rabbi Sachs I was reading. He said the Torah, the essence of the Torah is this: the relationship between a parent and a child. And I just thought that was so interesting the way he put that. It's the story of a relationship between a parent and a child, and that's the essence of the Torah.
Wow.
And so,
okay.
Our human relationships with our parents and with one another is very important with the Creator. When we read the Torah, there's only a few places in there where he comes down and kind of gets involved. And each time and every one of those is when the kids wasn't getting along. Daddy had to step in between them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's definitely about the relationship between parent and a child. And so issues in that area, goes right along with his story about our story.
Yeah.
Okay, Scotty,
Veronica,
however you want to head off,
okay.
off on the questions, because you've got the questions and comments, and you just.
We may not get past the first one. Hello, Christopher. Good to see you tonight. Veronica put that miracle is not only for the recipient but for all of us.
Right.
So thank you, Veronica. That's great. So okay. So a couple of weeks ago, we got into a discussion about the Creator, the oneness of the Creator, that about not I'm hunting my words here, Terry. So you just have to give me just a minute.
You want me to just go over the passage?
Well,
and the comments, or what?
Let me take you to one place. Anthropomorphism. Trying to get a huh?
Okay. No, I know.
Am I going the direction you need me to go in?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The hardest thing to break free from is trying to understand God with an anthropomorphic idea. In other words, giving him body form, giving him body shape, and things of that nature. And so Terry read a text in Isaiah 40 and 19. Is it okay if I start this way, Terry?
You start back up in 18.
Start back up in 18. Oh yeah. That's exactly where I was going. I don't know why. Okay. And the text in 18 says, "And to whom do you compare God?" Now this is getting personal because it uses the word you. To whom do you compare God? And what likeness do you arrange for him? So Terry, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm just going to let you pick that up, because I think this is a struggle with a lot of people that I talk to. They always want to give structure bodily, physically, to the Creator, to the eternal, and So Terry, pick it up from right there. If I led
Well,
you
you know,
in
the-
good enough.
Commenting or teaching on that passage, the sage Malbing, he wrote, that the Creator, as we learned, that Hashem said at Mount Sinai to all the children of Israel, you heard the voice coming out, out of the fire, but you saw no form. And then he goes and gives them, specific, detailed instructions on the issue of not, bringing any, other gods before him, which actually in the Hebrew literally means not to place an image on his face.
Yeah.
And not to give God a face. And so Malbing says, the Creator has no image or likeness whatsoever. He is pure and exalted spiritually. No physical being can be compared to him or can even symbolize him. And that's what he teaches. But the Rambam, since you brought up anthropomorphism, we'll eventually work ourselves into this. The Rambam has quite a bit to say about this in his Mishneh Torah, in the chapter on, hold on here, on the laws of worship of stars and their statutes. It's called Hilkot Avodat Hokivim in the Hebrew. And he starts, let's see, where was I was going to start at here? I was reading this morning. I think I moved my bookmark here. Let's see, that's nope. Sorry, that's where we was talking about blasphemy last. Sorry, I got two bookmarks going on here. one from last week, and then the other one. No, the one on the worship stars is what we talked about last week when we were talking about blasphemy. This one is actually Hilkot Yesodi HaTorah, the laws of the foundations of Torah. And so in chapter 1, we're going to start with section 8, and we're going to go through, I think I told you, Scotty, 12.
Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah, I think it's 8 through 12. So as I go through this, Scotty, and we're reading from this, if you want to stop and comment on it, just stop me and everything. But in 8, he said, because this is talking about the anthropomorphism, which he's actually going to talk about that here in 9 and 10 real heavily. Well, especially 9, and then 10, some stuff about Moses. In 8, he says, the Rambam he says, behold, it is explicitly stated in the Torah. And we're talking about this in line with the prohibition of idolatry. And I've got some, when I finish that I want to kind of make a comment on about this issue on the importance of understanding the why the prohibition of idolatry is so important. But in the Rambam goes on and says, behold, it is explicitly stated in the Torah and the works of the prophets, the Holy One, blessed be he. He is not confined to a body or a physical form. Deuteronomy 4:39 states, because God your Lord, the Lord is the Lord of heavens above and the earth below. And a body cannot exist in two places simultaneously. And it goes on and says, hence, God's existence in both heaven and earth demonstrates that he is not confined to a physical form, because a physical form cannot inhabit two places at one time. He goes on and says, also Deuteronomy 4:15 states, for you did not see any image. And then on further, in Isaiah 40, verse 25 states, to whom can you liken me? And whom can you will make me equal to? So he continues on what he says in verse 18, there in verse 25. Where is he confined to a body that he would resemble any other bodies? Anything on that before I get into the anthropomorphism?
No, go ahead, because I've got something that I'm working on right here. Go right ahead and go into that.
In section 9, he continues, he says, if so, what is the meaning of the expressions employed by the Torah below his feet in Exodus 24:10? Written by the finger of God in Exodus 31:18. God's hand in 9:3. God's eyes, Genesis 38:7. God's ears in Numbers 11, and the like. It says, for frequently the Torah uses, that big fancy word of Scotty's there, anthropomorphisms to describe God. The Torah uses all these, metaphors to describe him. And the Rambam goes on, he says, all these expressions were used to relate to human thought processes which know only corporal imagery.
Yeah.
For the Torah, and this is a very famous saying, many of the sages uses this statement, for the Torah speaks in the language of man. They are only descriptive terms, as apparent from Deuteronomy 32:41. I will whet my lightning sword. Does he have a sword? Does he need a sword to kill? Rather, this is metaphoric imagery. Similar, all such expressions are metaphoric imagery. A proof of this concept, one of the prophets says that I saw that the Holy One, blessed be he, clothed in snow, white, Daniel 7:9. And another one envisioned as him coming in crimson garments from Batra in Isaiah 63. And Moses, our teacher, himself envisioned him at the Red Sea as a mighty man waging war. And at Mount Sinai, Moses saw him as a leader of a congregation wrapped in a talus. That's the prayer shawl that the men wear. This shows that he has no imagery or form. All of these are merely expressions of prophetic visions and imagery, and the truth of this concept cannot be grasped or comprehended by human thought. This is what the verse in Job 11 states. Can you find the comprehension of God? Can you find the ultimate bounds of the Almighty? Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay. This is going to get a little tight right here, Terry. Then so where Moses
my
was on,
my mic is starting to slip.
Oh,
you got the part.
Are you falling apart?
We're gonna go on a break here for a second. Scotty, go ahead and take with it. I thought it was slipping tonight when we started.
Did it come off the table?
It came off.
Okay.
Hold
Okay.
on.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
You go ahead and take care of that. So the question I'm going to ask Terry when he comes back, and Bob and Christopher, y'all can jump in on this if you so desire, while Terry's trying to rebuild his microphone desk here. There in Exodus, and I think I'm going to start reading at 20. And he said, you will not be able to see my face, for for man shall not see me and live. And the Lord said, Behold, there is a place with me, and ye shall stand on the rock. And it shall be when my glory passes by, I will place you into the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand, and you will see my back, but my face shall not be seen. So here, I've listened to a couple of rabbis on this, a couple of teachings on this, but I just want to know, can neither one of you talk to us about that place right there? It's talking about the hand, God hiding him from his face, and Terry quoted it, the putting him in the cleft of the rock and hiding him with a hand, and then he saw his back, or his, I think one translation says his hinder parts. What is that talking about? What is that? Did I catch you off guard? What is that talking about? Come on, both of you unmute at the same time. Metaphorically, is it talking metaphorically? What's it discussing?
God's true essence. What did Terry read from the Rambam? It's incomprehensible to us.
Yes.
It is on a level beyond our ability to comprehend, which makes it very difficult to understand, because it's not it's not understandable. We just have to understand that it is there, even if we can't actually grasp it. God's true essence is not something that we can grasp a hold of. What we grasp a hold of is the aspects, the ways that we can interact in creation. God created the universe, we can interact with that, and therefore we're able to interact with godliness, not directly with God, but with godliness.
Yeah.
As it expresses itself in creation. That's why we see a lot of the anthropomorphisms, is because that's how we are able to perceive godliness. And that's God. As God goes past, he's able to see from the back. He's able to see that.
Yeah. That's like the Terry read a text a second ago that said when you were on the mountain you didn't see a form, but then we have this text to like you said, we have to try to understand it, knowing that God does not have a form, and looking at this text. There's a couple of rabbis I've heard. Did you want to say something, Christopher? You want to jump in on this, or are you contemplating?
Currently, I'm contemplating.
Okay. I got you out from under the bus when I threw you under, right? So, a lot of us, let's take this story I told. I would have loved to have been able to see what was going to happen. I would love to see God's work before he does it. But now I'm seeing the after, the back, the hinder parts. And I know God passed by. I know the Creator passed by, because now I can see he walked this, he went, and I'm using metaphoric terms when I'm saying it. He walked this way. I can see that the hand of God was on her while she was going through her dilemma. He hiding her in the cleft, and then when he passes by, he removes his hand, and there it was. There was the miracle, seeing the hand. So is that am I seeing this correctly by looking at that? Explaining it in that direction? The metaphoric principles are, like Terry said and you said, are for us trying to understand, but even at that, we have to see God in his infinite powerful position, not having a body, but at the same time, we have to describe how we relate to him. Did I say that correctly? Terry, where you at? Who wants? Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, what you were saying is absolutely correct, because humans can only see God in a certain aspect. We can't comprehend God fully. So we have to sort of say, like, God passed by us, God put us, under a cleft of a rock as he passed by, so on and so forth, because we cannot fully see God in his fullness, because we wouldn't be able to comprehend what we're looking at. And so God will always, and this is just me personally talking, God will always work in a way where you feel his presence, but you can't pinpoint exactly where everything is. If you kind of get what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain. Like, for example, if someone was in an accident and somehow the whole vehicle was totaled, but yet that person came out totally unscathed. And then you look at the car and the car's like smushed. It's like, how did this person get out of there and come out okay?
Yeah.
At that point, the hand of God, so to speak, was on that person. It wasn't that person's time to go.
Right. To give a story to go along with that. Hell, Terry's back. Hello, Terry. I'm going to throw this story in here, then we're going to go back to Terry. But years ago, my wife and I went to visit this family, and of course, we were in our previous life. Yeah, thank you. And this boy was trying to stop a fight. Of two of his buddies had gotten a fight, and he was trying to stop it. Well, when he stepped in between them, one of them had a tire iron. Y'all know what a tire iron is. And he was coming down with it, and it went through the temple to temple, through that, and it paralyzed him immediately. When we went to see him, he was in a fetus position in a hospital bed and at home, and you could see where it went through. And he didn't know anything was going on, anybody, and they were just waiting on him to pass. And we went through our motions of prayer, and went through those things. And then a few years later, we was at this facility, and in walked this young man. I looked at him and I said, I've seen him somewhere before, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But now when we were there, I felt a hand of the Creator. At that time, I was directing the praise for it, but I felt the hand of the Creator. Well, anyway, in walked this young man, and I said, "Have we met?" And he says, "You know what? My mama said y'all came over and prayed for me one night." And then he turned, and I could see the scars in his temple to temple, and made a fine young man. So I couldn't see the Creator at the time. I just felt that he was going to do something. And then after it was over, I could see, so that's sort of what you had explained there, Christopher, that I don't know what's happening. I just know God's in the midst. I know the Creator, the Eternal's doing something. Being an evangelist, it's hard for me to sit down and talk real loud about this kind of stuff. I get excited I feel God here. I know the Eternal's doing something. I can't tell you what it is. But as soon as it's over, it will be revealed to all of us. Go ahead, Christopher. You unmuted, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to agree with you.
Okay. Well, then go ahead and agree with me then.
All right, Terry, it's all on you.
Okay, right. Terry, pick up before you had the shamble there.
Yeah, this particular one's not really made for this kind of desk, and the clamp it slips when you move. So I'm going to be looking for me a different mic stand here. Hopefully get something within the next week or so.
Okay.
But I saw it started slipping tonight right before right as we started, and I'm like, oh, please don't. Well, it did. It decided to lay down and take a short nap. All right. I was listening the whole time, and you went on into part of what's being discussed in paragraph 10 here from the Rambam is that situation with Moses. And I will go through with what he, add to the mix here with what the Rambam says. He says here, going back up, it says, this is what the verse Job states. Can you find the comparison of God? Can you find the ultimate bounds of the Almighty? Meaning, can you find where he starts and stops? Can you find the boundaries? Well, he has no boundaries. We kind of talked about that a couple of weeks ago, me being a Trekkie, at 9 times speed of light, which is, trillions of miles a second, for 9 years. 9 times that speed. It'd take 1,000 years to get to the next galaxy from the edge of ours. And there's hundreds and thousands of galaxies. And when you get there, King David says, no matter how far you go into the heavens, no how far you go down to the pit, there you are. We can't outrun the Creator. So he has no boundary because he doesn't operate, his essence, his complete full essence isn't in the creation. Creation can't contain him. And so the Rambam continues, he says, so if so, what did Moses, our teacher, want to comprehend when he requested, please show me your glory in Exodus 33. So now we're going to go through like what y'all were talking about. The Rambam says he asked to know the truth of the existence of the Holy One, blessed be he, to the extent that it could be internalized within his own mind, within Moses' mind. Moses wanted to be able to comprehend the truth of the Creator's existence in his mind. Mm-hmm. As one knows a particular person whose face he saw, whose image he has been engraved within his own heart. Thus, this person's identity is distinguished within one's mind from that of another man. He wanted to be able to know, Moses wanted to be able to recognize the Creator as we would recognize, like, we're all here, we know who Scotty is, we know who Bob is, and we can see the differences. And Moses wanted to grasp that internalized understanding of the existence of God as a man would want to know from another person, another human to another human. Similarly, Moses, our teacher, asked that the existence of the Holy One, blessed be he, be distinguished in his mind from the existence of other entities to the extent that he would know the truth of his existence as it is in its own right. But he, the Creator, blessed be he, replied to him, that is not within the potential of a living man. To know me at that level is not possible within the human realm. A creature of body and of soul, to comprehend this matter in its entirety. So he replied to him, it is not within the potential of the human living man, a creature of body and soul, to be able to comprehend this matter in its entirety. Nevertheless, he, the Creator, blessed be he, revealed to Moses matters which to no other man had known before, nor would ever know afterwards, until he was able to comprehend enough from the truth of his existence for the Holy One, blessed be he, to be distinguished in his mind, in Moses' mind, from another entity, as a person is distinguished from another man. When one sees his back and knows the structure of his body and the manner in which he is clothed. This is alluded to by the verse in Exodus 33, that you shall see my back, but you shall not, but my face you will not see. because we can't comprehend that.
So so in thinking of this, in processing this, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle if you've been taught all your life that I remember when I was a little boy, I saw all these pictures of, God sitting on a throne, floating on a cloud, looking out over the earth and looking down on everybody. It's hard when that's been conditioned in you to break yourself free from that. So what is the process? How is there any text that we can find to help us break ourselves free from that concept? Am I asking that question correctly?
I mean, well, like you said, it's a process. We many of us were taught one thing, and then when we come to the Torah, in which he gave Israel, and it says something else. It takes time. It takes years. It can take a lifetime, to shed these things. And there's no need of some people might want to get depressed because they have a hard time, trying to get things clear in their mind. Understand this is not, we're going into realms here as some of the sages, God's ain't soap, he's incomprehensible, and it's hard in a culture or cultures that we all have been raised in. And we've heard, every culture has its own story of how it envisions, the creator. And pretty much for the nations, they use some form or another, which we'll continue on that here in just a few minutes. And this is all part of the prohibition of idolatry. Verse 11, or not verse, but section 11 says, since it has been clarified that he does not have a body or corporal form, it is also clear that none of the functions, see, now this also, we're going to get into the functions, what we call the functions of the creator. But it's also clear that none of the functions of the body are appropriate to him. Neither connection nor separation, neither place nor measure, neither accent or descent, neither ascent nor descent, neither right or left, neither front or back, would possess, or neither standing or sitting. He is not found within time so that he would possess a beginning or an end. He does not change. There is nothing that can cause him to change. The concept of death is not applicable to him, nor that of life. Within the context of physical life, even our physical life cannot be compared to the life of that the Creator exists within. The concept of foolishness is not applicable to him, nor is that of wisdom in the terms of human wisdom. Neither sleep nor waking, neither anger or laughter, neither joy nor sadness. See, we have all these definitions. God getting angry, God is happy, God is pleased. Neither silence nor speech in the human understanding of speech are appropriate terms with which to describe him. The sages of Israel have declared, above there is no sitting or standing, separation or connection. Since this is, in section 12, since this is all such descriptions and the like which are related in the Torah and the words of the prophets, all of these are metaphors and imageries. For example, he who sits in the heavens shall laugh in Psalms. They angered me with their emptiness, Deuteronomy 32. As God rejoiced in Deuteronomy 28. With regard to all such statements, our sages have said the Torah speaks in the language of man. This is borne out by the rhetorical question in Jeremiah 7:19. Are they enraging me? Behold, Malachi 3:6 states, I, God, have not changed. Now, were he at times to be enraged, and at times that he would be happy, he would change. Rather, all these matters are found only in the regard to the dark and the low bodies, those who dwell in the house of clay, whose foundation is dust. In contrast, he, blessed be he, is elevated and exalted above all of this. And I never thought about that until I studied it this week. If God was to be happy about something and then he had to be angry about something, there's a change in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he cannot be changed.
And this is a little bit for people who have never heard this. It's a struggling concept to grasp because all of our lives, here's what we've said. I don't want to do nothing to make God mad at me. You know
Right.
what I'm talking about? I don't want to,
I mean, we've all said that.
Yeah.
Because we read in the Torah, and God was angered and this and that, but that is in the language of man. What we see is anger and like is we have his very first name that is revealed to mankind is in Genesis 1:1, the word Elohim, which means he's a judge. He's the creator. He created the laws. When he created everything that's in the world, everything operates off law. Rabbi Hirsch talks about the law of species when he told the earth to bring forth the vegetation and the beasts of the field according to their kind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something that governs that. You see? And so that's the justice side, the legal side of his nature, if we can even say that. And then we come to Genesis chapter 2:16, where it says Hashem Elohim. He introduces us in the Hebrew, not to mankind. He doesn't give this name until he gives it to Moses. But when Moses wrote Genesis, he included it in 2:16 when God gave man his first command, which the sages teaches us that's the beginning of man's moral and ethical training as a living creature. It's Hashem Elohim. It's that name that brought Israel out. It's delivering and it's favor and kindness. And it comes before, and the sages teaches us when the Creator is dealing with man, those two names are used. Hashem is used first, the 4-letter name, because he tempers his justice with mercy. But see, he doesn't get angry. He doesn't get happy. He can't, because it would be a change. And this is a thought process that takes time, things to pray about, And the only verse, as far as there's several that are there. That one with on Mount Sinai, where he said we saw no form. Isaiah 45 and other places in Isaiah where it says, Ani Hashem Va'ain Od. I am Hashem. I am the creator. I am God, and there is no other. And that's one of them that I keep in my mind all the time, is there is no other. There is nothing that is with God. If you read something that says this is with God, that's idolatry, because there's no other. The Creator says there is no other. And there's even a deep teaching on that, which we don't have all week to get into that.
Yeah.
Get into that passage and into the depth of what it actually says there from the Hebrew. But that's the one I keep in my mind constantly that there is no other, to keep myself from venturing back into old thoughts.
So I got two questions. I'm going to give you this one first. So are we doing wrong when we metaphorically speak about the Creator?
No, I mean, this because he speaks of himself in the language of man for our benefit.
Okay. To help us understand.
Where we get wrong at is in statements like the man upstairs. That's idolatrous.
Okay.
Because he says he's not a man. But to speak of God's hands, his eyes, his voice, his joy, his anger is only there to help us grasp in our finite, as Perot on Agatha Christie says, the gray matter.
Yeah.
For our gray matter to grasp even just, the most finite aspect of God, he uses our language. And I read something the other day, or I heard I was either reading a teaching or I was listening to one the other day, and I never had thought about this aspect. When Israel and them crossed over and all that stuff, there's the Jordan, the Torah was written like on a post or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, and it was written in 70 languages, the languages of the nations.
Yeah.
Because the Torah was given to man, as far as not every command was given to every individual, but the Torah itself, its understanding, like our 7 laws and stuff, was given to man in man's language. It's not of the language of angels. It's in the language of man. And that was the rabbi was talking about how, the Creator demonstrated that the Torah is in the language of man, and is spoken to us in our language so we can understand it. Okay. It's in a way you can say that the Torah in the language of man is like a translation in a way, but we cannot comprehend the original language. That's above, the creation, if I can use that as a metaphor.
Okay, ready for number 2?
Yeah.
Why does it matter how humans see God, as long as we realize that God is one and follow the teachings of the Torah? Isn't that sufficient?
Well, there's rules, which a lot of people don't like rules, but and like I said, I've got something I'm going to share a little bit later, but the main point, Rabbi Weiner writes in the Divine Code, the main prohibition against idol worship is not to serve one of the creations, be it an angel, a spiritual power, a constellation, a star, a planet. One of the fundamentals of the physical creation, a person, an animal, a tree, or any other created thing. We have to be careful. See, the part of our prohibitions are actual acts. Like there are several aspects of idolatry. We're not to bow and offer up libations, to sacrifice, and different things, actual actions toward anything of the creation. So we have to be careful with imagery in our minds, because there is no actual image of God. These are all metaphors, so we can kind of understand. So if we want to think of him as a man, then that's an idolatrous image in our mind. And that's a hard thing. Like I said, it's something you're not going to get over overnight, and you're going to slip up. And you might be working on this 10 years down the road, and something's going to happen, and you're going to slip up. And that's, that just happens. We're human.
So is part of how we see God, Well, first of all, let me ask: is that part of our 7 laws? Is there one of the laws that cover how we see God? Would it be what would be blasphemy and idolatry? Wouldn't it, or would it? How we see God.
That's an interesting question because how do you define see?
Understand. How we understand. Let's use the word understand first. I got another word I'm going to use, but let's use the word understand. How we understand God, and visualize what He is.
Kind of like, what if you see and understand God in His parental role as your dad? Is that what you're saying?
No, not necessarily. Let's don't go to a father-son type thing. Let's go to a sitting on a throne.
Sitting on a throne.
A monkey. Given how we, as long as we know He's one, it just doesn't matter how we see Him. Is there any place in the 7 laws, say, like let's take idolatry? So what does it hurt if I see God in a bodily form, a man form? Man, it's quiet on this one, isn't it? So
no, I can understand what you're saying, because see, that's just something that we struggle with.
I mean, that's a concept a lot of people see.
As humans, because we are physical and we occupy space and time. Therefore, we want to relate to the Creator in space and time to help us understand. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Torah uses the imageries, and I didn't get into it, but there's another work of the Rambam that he gets into, and I was contemplating whether to use it tonight, but where he talks about, he actually gets into the breakdown of where it says, let's see here. Go back to the right bookmark again. In section 9. So what is the meaning of the expressions employed by the Torah below his feet? He gets into that where it talks about these different things of like below his feet and stuff. It's actually discussing a result of some. It's kind of hard to explain. That's the reason why I really didn't want to get into that tonight, because it's from one of the Rambam's deeper writings that he wrote, because he breaks down this whole section in several chapters, and he goes through each one of these anthropomorphisms and showing the movement and the actions of God that is described in these anthropomorphisms.
So it reveals what it means by under his feet. It reveals what it means.
Yeah, he gets really deep into that. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But is it okay to imagine God as a person?
What does it does that? Okay, so let me rephrase the question. In the position of idolatry, prohibition against idolatry, me seeing God in a manly form, does it create in my mind limitations?
That's actually discussed by the Rambam in further teachings on this, where because he talks about the Creator not being in a physical being or symbolizing him as a physical being. Physical beings have limitations. We have boundaries. And that's what he was talking about there with Job, where it says, have you sought out, the boundary of the Creator. So how he put it. I think it was. Let's see, here was it. Yeah, where Job is asked, can you find the ultimate bounds of the Almighty? Can you find his boundaries where he's limited at? And when we imagine him in any kind of physical form or being of any sort, or symbolized by something, you're symbolizing and imaging him in a limited way, that he has limitations like we do, where he has absolutely zero limitations because he has zero form and everything that is used about him is strictly talking to us in the language that we can hear, but he actually doesn't contain any of that.
Right. And our goal in the prohibition of idolatry, if I can say it this way, is to break ourselves free from imagining God with bodily forms.
Right. And see, and there's a purpose for that. I mean, it wouldn't have been so difficult if it wasn't for the generation of Enosh bringing in, and then Nebuchadnezzar at I think it was Nebuchadnezzar after the flood. But see, before the generation of Enosh, there was nobody really compared the Creator to anything. It was at that generation when they started looking at the powers of the constellations and the stars and the heavenly bodies, and they started attributing, that hey, we need to give honor to these because they're the servants of the Creator. And then as time went on, temples were built and statues were built and priesthoods were built, and then finally the common ordinary person is, in the language of the Rambam, he uses nor woman nor child knew anything any different. And that's how, and eventually, the generations forgot about what we're learning here now that was given in the Torah, in the Torah for us to be able to learn. And the big reason why this is so important is because if you attribute any kind of symbolization or any form to the Creator, you're taking away from his essence. You're putting in a substitute. And there's a reason why this is so important. The importance of grasping this prohibition of idolatry. When you grasp this, then you'll grasp his sovereignty as Creator, God and King, who made us, who has the right to instruct us on how he wants us to live. Without grasping this prohibition of idolatry and the importance of it, so you don't substitute him in any way, and he has full sovereignty, then you're going to understand not only the importance, but the meaning behind, and I'm trying to think of the right word, it's not coming to my mind, of the other commands. Without understanding that we can't symbolize him in any other way, that there's another person or another thing that can symbolize or can be his form, as long as there's an other out there in our mind, then his commandments doesn't have the weight that they're supposed to have. His instructions doesn't have the weight. And so this will help expand your understanding of the other 6 commands. And through this, when we grasp this, through this, we will come to know that his instructions, what we call the Noahide laws, the 7 laws of, no murder, theft, and all of that, which we get into later, are God's calls, the one that there is no other. It is his call to human responsibility. That we have a responsibility as being a human We have a responsibility. And until we can grasp that there is no other, then we can't grasp that he has total sovereignty in everything in his creation.
Yeah.
That when we grasp this, then we can look and we go, oh, then we can start understanding Genesis 2:16, where it says, V'asaf Hashem Elohim, Adam. And Hashem Elohim commanded man. Now we understand who this is, who commanded man. He is the one and there is no other. He has the right. He is the creator. And then we can properly pay homage to him as our sovereign. And then we can see that he's not giving us commands like a drill sergeant that has any, somebody that's over him as a general, because he is the general. He is the top brass. He's the one in control. And when we begin to grasp this understanding of idolatry and who he is, and there is no other, and nothing symbolizes him, there is no other power, there's no other source. Until we get that, then we cannot really grasp the meaning and the understanding of the other six.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that has the right to give us these to live by. But until we stop, giving, someone else or some other thing or ideology or other religion or other thoughts, power and sources in our life and give him the supremacy of it, then then it's almost like, well, who are you to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been studying this. This is what came to my mind, because I'm like, without this, we can't grasp the power of the others as ethical and moral issues for humanity. Right. This is God's call to man's responsibility begins with the knowledge and understanding of who he is and who he's not.
Right. I think the who he's not is something we gotta.
That's the biggie, yeah. And those of us of the nations we have a lot of baggage.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to read two things over here, and I think Bob typed this in, and you said it right after he typed it in. If the images are used with the language of man in the Bible, then can we find the intended concept behind it? And then you brought that out. So
there is. The Rambam actually gets into the intended concepts behind all that. Maybe sometime I'll get into that other document, and because it's several chapters that kind of talk about it, I need to go through and pull out of that what goes with this, because he's talking about multiple things, and this is kind of in the middle of it as well. Mm-hmm. And I've been kind of reading it this week a little bit, and I wanted to read some of it tonight, but I didn't feel really prepared until I think what I want to do is type it out so I know exactly.
Yeah.
Because he goes in and explains what all these things means below his feet, the sword, and all of that. He gets into what's behind what is being said in that imagery. And I guess that's what Bob was asking.
Yeah. And so also Veronica stated, so God is neither happy nor angry with us. If we violate a law, then we are penalized, but God isn't angry because of it. Is that?
No, it's I like Rabbi Laser Brody's terminology, tit for tat.
Yeah. So also, I want to do something before we come. One
other thing. I think Fred had his hand up a while ago.
Oh yes, he did. Fred, you might have covered what he was going to say while he had his hand up. He's backed out for a minute.
He's probably still at work. Go ahead.
Yeah, he is. So before we come to a close tonight, it's been an hour and 20. I do want to make mention and ask Chrissy something. Chrissy, I apologize. I had it on a note here, and then Ronald reminded me. Tell us how your grandson is.
Okay. Look, I was lucky enough to talk to my son, his father, who was there with him at the moment, just before the show started, your recording started. So, look, Ty had an altercation at a rodeo on the weekend with the bull. He rode the bull, won the round, dismounted effortlessly, and then the bull turned around and stood on his head. So he's in hospital in Newcastle in a neurological ward at the moment. He's conscious and able to talk, but he has 2 small fractures at the base of his skull, and a cervical 7 is fractured. And he's having little bits of bleeds, a little bit of memory problem, but physically he seems to be able to move everything. But he's in a complete brace thing, and they'll probably be in that for 3 months. There is talk that if he continues to stabilise, they will airlift him back to a hospital in Queensland here or Brisbane, which will be so much better for all of us. But he did have his first shower today, and under that had to be assisted. But my son said he is giving a bit of cheek, so that's a good sign, isn't it?
Okay.
But it's we've been a terrible state all over the weekend, and it could have been so very different, and we're very grateful that he's able to give cheek and stuff like that. But your prayers are welcome.
We're giving Sadaka right now. What is his name again? Ty what is it?
Ty Thompson, Ty.
Thompson. Okay.
And my son's name is Rhett Seaton Thompson. They're
Okay.
Noahides. Ty is a Noahide.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Terry. I just wanted to throw that in. I know sometimes Chrissy has to.
Oh, no. That's not a
wanted
problem.
to get that in.
I'm glad you did.
All right, Terry. On the radio, we've got a lot of people that are interested. Now, see, here's what happens, and I know we're not going to cover this tonight. But if you got your pen and paper ready, I'm going to throw a couple things on you here.
Okay, hold on a second here. Let me grab me a pencil here.
So, in the concept of God not having bodily form, and just seeing that as a metaphoric positioning of and I'm using my own words here, I guess you can tell that, of explaining the presence of God. How are we to grasp the fullness of God? You want me to see if I can reword that?
No, that's a very, very good question. Well, all we have to work with is what we have here on earth, what we have at our fingertips, what we have within our own eyesight, our own senses. And I don't know if this will help or not, but this is what came to my mind when you read that. Years ago, when I was early on in my studies, that like I am here now, even further, just baby steps. Scotty knows my mind works different ones, the way it works. I was outside one time, and I was just walking around my yard. I lived out in the county on the end of a dead end street, 7 acres of land, fully covered with trees and vegetation. And I was out walking around one spring after all the different trees had, the leaves had come out, right before summer. And I was just in there, and I was looking at, and I had some small pine trees that were growing, and I was looking at the pine needles, and I had some red oak and white oak and some maple trees and some chestnut trees and some just wild shrubs. And I was just in there, and I was just looking at everything, and I just started taking some of them into my hands like this, and I was just looking at the vast difference in all these leaves. And for me, it was just like that. Behold, the glory of God fills the earth. You know, the sages teach us that God is like, there's some very deep Hebrew words that explains this. And I know Bob and Chris know these things. And I'm not even going to attempt to try to say them, but he's hidden within his creation. We cannot grasp, like with Moses, you cannot see what you're asking. You know, no human being can, but he has given us what we can see. And that's, you know, the beauty of his creation, whether it's a leaf, or if you like me at one time, I was blessed. My first daughter, we had a midwife, home birth. Midwife came in there and said, "You started it, you finishing it?" And I'm going, "Huh?" And I helped deliver my first daughter. And just seeing that, you know, and 20-something years old, the Almighty is, he is hidden within his creation, and there's a deep Hebrew understanding of that. But there is so much there that reveals him that we can't even comprehend what is revealed within what we can see, what we can touch, what we can hear through the birds or the waves, you know, crashing on a beach, or the thunder or the crack of, like the other day, I heard a lightning like I'd never heard before. We had a storm come through about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the window right beside my bed, it was just a lightning show. And then all of a sudden there was something that sounded like you take a piece of paper and you rip it, you know, that sound, that paper ripping. And then just milliseconds after that ripping sound, then there was a bolt of lightning, and then there was another thunderclap. And it was just like, you know, with me being scientifically minded and I knew I was having the static from that lightning was like ripping the atmosphere, ripping the air before the lightning came through. You know, there's so much there in the comprehension of God and his power. Yeah. We don't need imagery. He's there. Yeah. And we can begin to fill our minds with his glory, with what he has revealed in the realm that we can understand. And I really recommend just get out in nature. I've got this book by this guy, him and his wife, they hike all the national parks in America. And he goes out there with pen and paper and not a camera, and captures it. And his first book was called Wilderness, Gateway to the Soul. And there's nothing religious in it, but he's just what he's describing when he's in the alpine forest up in Colorado, you know, when the rain coming down, and he's describing what he's hearing and writing these words. And I guess that's the reason why, especially the sages and the Breslov Jews, and Rabbi Nachman talks about getting out and praying in nature, because when you pray in nature, nature helps your prayers ascend to the Holy One, because they're life as well. But yeah, we might not be able to imagine him in a human form, but when you get out and you start experiencing his existence that way, you'll find that you really don't need that form, because it lessens that imagery in your mind are going to lessen and limit God. But when you get in the midst of this, and that's one reason, one of the things one rabbi told me, says his name Elohim actually has an understanding of vastness, because like water had the Hebrew word water is mayim, and water can be the amount of water that goes on the head of a needle. Water can be in a cup. Mayim can be in a cup. Mayim can be in a river. Mayim can be in an ocean. It's so vast. Just like Mayim is so vast that it's almost even incomprehensible in our minds. If we even think about just the issue of water on our earth. And but go ahead, Scotty.
Thomas mentioned, I always thought of Hashem as being all around us. So that's what you're explaining there. That's
King David in Psalms 139, if I go up into the heavens, behold, you are there. If I, and I find it interesting because he says, if I make my bed in the pit, like, if I mess up and I've been brought down low because it doesn't matter. He's there. And we'll be knocking on a breast. Oh man, it's beautiful. He teaches on that passage. He said, whether you're in the heights or whether you're in the most lowest of lows, Hashem is a whisper. You can just whisper and he's there.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at. And so imagery takes away from our experiencing his.
Yeah.
Experiencing him. I guess the only way I know how to say that. Go ahead, Scotty.
All right. No, if you're through, I'm going to bring us to a close.
I kind of went through, I think, everything that you wanted me to do. No, I'm just
okay.
kidding.
Okay. Well, we'll pick up here and jump into it next week if that's okay.
We will do another Q&A.
Yeah, we're gonna
like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to take it to another area.
Okay.
So, and I won't throw you under the bus right off the bat, like I did Bob and Christopher a while ago when you was having.
Well, that was that may have been directed. It's time for somebody. I think something happened over there whether I wanted it to or not.
All right. Well, we appreciate.
Hey, thank you, Chris and Bob, for helping out.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody sticking around. Those of you on Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much for being with us tonight. And we certainly appreciate it. Come on and be in the Zoom room with us sometimes and just let us know where you're listening from. We'd appreciate that. And if you're watching this recording or you watched the live tonight, please go ahead and subscribe to that channel. That's Outreach Noah, and hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. Share this video with all your social media platforms and send us an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Did I get all that right, Jerry? And remember, a simple walk. You can always go there, find the links to all of the hookups on the class tonight.
And we are coming to you from
broadcasting from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. You're listening to Power Faith Radio. So
Scotty, we've got to get together sometime this summer and actually us do one from.
Yeah. When I've got a little thing I put on there and I throw a lot of EQs in it and it's kind of echoing. So that's kind of flat of it right there. So, all right, everybody. We'll see you next week. See you next week. Bye-bye.